Hello again. In this video I want to finish up the user service. I still have a few things that I want to do before I consider it finished, which I didn't do in the previous video, obviously. So this is just to sort of finalize it, and then I can move on to the task service and doing some tasks. Because I'm enjoying this, I'm learning new stuff, so this is interesting to do. So I figured I would do a few more videos, and you can get to see some more examples. We can always use more examples, even though they are going to be somewhat similar to what we have seen so far. So I think I'm going to slack off a little bit on the strict TDD and basically use this approach where I write tests that I know should work when the implementation is finished. So we are going to break a few of these tests because my passwords, we want to have some rules just to try that out, right? So these are the tests or the functionality that I want to take a look at, just to expand a little bit. So we do this one first. That's the fine place to start. Or maybe I want to start with this one first. Yeah. Because that's cleaning up some of the functionality I have, and I want to modify it slightly. So my user mock DAO currently have both a saved user and multiple saved users, and I just want to have only this one. Even though maybe I just want to keep one, I still want it in the list, because then I don't need to distinguish between the two types. Right. So I remove that. That's going to create a bunch of problems. Saved users here, we will say add user. And I'm going to remove this one, that's not really needed. Yeah, and also that was just an initial check to verify that a method was called, but not something that I actually need now that I can verify that there are users inside. So that's removed. Here we want to find by ID, so I'll just steal this one here, and get ID. It's a UID, return ID. All right, and I assume there's an equals method that makes sense, and we equal the ID. Alternatively, we return null. Maybe that's good enough, or I could throw a data exception saying you tried to look for something that does not exist. We return... No, I don't want to return null. I want to throw that exception. Data exception. New data exception. Data access exception. User with ID not found. So this class, I need that probably in here. Package exceptions, implements, no, extends runtime exception. Yeah, and I need a constructor for this one just for the message. There we go. Okay, and we import that. Yeah, is there a problem? No. So it doesn't make sense to look for something that shouldn't exist, I guess. This is a failure, and not just it might happen. This shouldn't happen. Update user. So first we find by the ID, and I don't have an ID. Doesn't even complain. That's interesting. To update. We do like this, user get ID. Yeah, and if this doesn't throw an exception, then I know there is one. So let's just say, well, It's easier to just remove the existing and insert a new one. So saved users, remove if, yeah, remove if user, call it u.getID equals user.getID. And does this return anything? A boolean? So I don't need to actually find it. Was found. And it's a boolean. If not was found, get ID like that. But otherwise, and then we say saved users add user. So that should just override. I remove whatever is there, and then I insert something new. Finally, get saved user. We don't need that anymore. Get saved user. Get first user. If I rename this and just say saved users dot get at index 0, then I can still use this method. Okay, so that's my mock slightly improved. That means I have a bunch of compilers over here. So first saves users is equal to arrays as list, like that. Yeah. We play list of. Okay, that's fair. Users, and we do the same list of. So it's just a list of one user, but that's fair. Okay, let's just see how much I broke. I'll remove these. I don't need them. Not much. Unsupported operation exception. From here, remove if. Unsupported operation exception. Is this an immutable collection? I have the method. It's an array list. Okay, so the as list, where do I have it? This one returns an immutable list, which is annoying because it says it gets me a list, but I cannot modify it. Let's try this. List of. Let's see if that works. Where does it fail? Here. List of. So list of also gets me an immutable list. Okay, so we say new array list. That is mutable. Let's try and run this. See if this works now. Getting smarter every day, I guess. Okay. And this one, new array list containing all of that stuff. Yeah, just to be sure, let's run everything. Here we are, and looks like everything is green again. Okay, so now my mock actually still works, and we can get to this. Remove saved user, use only the list. That's done. Oh. Cannot create user with conflicting username, so let's create a test for this. Not like that. Test public void should fail when creating user with username conflict. Yeah. So we say I can probably steal some stuff from up here. There was something about a password update. Should update username. Should fail when updating username. I have 2 users. But it's when I create it, so I can take this one, saved users. Yeah, I have, let's call this existing user. So I have one. And that's my arrange. We want to set it up so there's an existing user. And I don't really need to look this up. Just put it in there. And then, so I have one user in my database, dummy database. The act is going to say assert throws of type domain logic exception to class and a lambda expression. There we go. And if I go with, let's do like this, string existing user name, there we go, and we say user service create existing username and a password which will work later on, password 1 2 like that, uppercase, lowercase, symbol, digit. I think those are the rules that I plan on using. And this should throw an exception because there is a conflict. Now I should have the logic in place, so this is just to verify that it fails. There we go. Well, it fails in the way that the test succeeds, so that's good. But we do get the exception thrown. Yeah. Nope. Then we do some password check. And here we could do that parameterized test and value source. What did I do? Value source of strings. Okay, so I can give it classes as well. Okay, interesting. Let's see. And public void should fail with invalid password. Should fail when creating user with invalid password. And here we say string password. All right. And I create a user. So user, new user, and we say UID random, and username, that's okay, that's not what we're testing. And then we say password. Yeah, so arrange act assert is being combined into this assert throws here, assert throws, domain logic exception class, right? That's what we want to get out. And that happens when we say I'm creating a user, so I don't actually need this here. We do instead say string username, string password. I have that. And we say user service dot create with username and password. Okay. Great. So this should fail provided we give it incorrect password. So let's try that out. What's incorrect? Let me get this one. So first I have a, let's say, lower bound of 8 characters. So that means that is 8. Now this fulfills the rules with uppercase, lowercase, digit, and symbol, but not with the length. So that's failure. This one does not contain a digit. This one does not contain a symbol. This one does not contain an uppercase. And this one does not contain lowercase. So these should all fail. I could create a bunch of variations of these just to be more thorough. But let's just start here and let's see what happens. Alright, so this time around they all fail. We get a yellow, so that means I didn't break anything, but I did not get what was expected either, so the behavior doesn't match. So we just do one at a time. This one should fail. The first one should fail because it's too short. So let's fix that. Create user. Let's go over here. User. Create, validate password. If it's null or empty, cannot be empty, okay. If its length is less than 8, password must be at least 8 characters. Alright. If I run it again. First one succeeds, that's good. Let's take a look at the second one. This one fails because there's no digit. Okay, so let's say I want to go through the password character by character and check that it works. So let's see if I can figure out how to do that. Password dot char to char array. Okay. Character, and I'm looking for a digit, right? Yeah, has number, false. If character, if I remember correctly, there's a is digit, right? So there's some utility. If it's digit, then we found one and says has number equals true. And then here at the end we say if not has number, throw new domain, logic exception, password must contain at least one number. All right, let's give it a go again. Yeah, so that works. This one should then fail. So that's the next one. It doesn't have one of the symbols. So Boolean has symbol, false, and the correct symbols would be what do we call it? Necessary symbols. And what do I expect? I need one of these, or one of an underscore, or a dash, or a question mark, or a plus, or a hash. I could expand upon these. Maybe there's a similar method. Let's see. If character is high surrogate ideographic, letter is letter. Yeah, I don't know. There's no symbol thing. Symbol, I don't know what they are even called. So let's see instead if necessary symbols, is there contains, no. How do we do this? We want to check that the if the character is one of these. Okay, maybe we use a list instead. Let's try that. So we say it's not a character, it's not a char array, an array of characters. We say list character. Import. Correct one. It's now a new array list, and what can we do here? Collection. So list of all my elements. We might just do this. I'm not going to modify it. Okay. So if necessary symbols contains my character has a symbol is true, and just duplicate this. If not, has symbol, password must contain at least one symbol of these. I don't want to type them out. So we check if the character is in this set of necessary symbols. See, hopefully this one, the third one, should now succeed. Alright, then we need the uppercase. Boolean has uppercase false if there was another utility method is uppercase. There we go, character has uppercase equals true. Not has uppercase. Password must contain at least one uppercase character. Yeah, that should fix the next one. Right. I could probably do some regular expression to match some of this, but I'm not too familiar with those, so we're just doing this as lowercase. Last one, false. Duplicate this is lowercase as lowercase, and we duplicate this one as lowercase. Password must contain at least one lowercase character. Okay, so they all pass. Now we can verify that incorrect passwords are not okay. And I need a correct one here, because let's see how much we broke. And then it's always a question whether my code is broken or my tests are broken. But I have a bunch of places where I just use some dummy password, current password. Right? This is not good enough. Let's just run this. And updated password cannot be whatever, but is 0, right? Maybe a set. Oh. Yeah, so now that's good. And which other ones failed here? Actual password cannot be that. Create, does it work? Right, this one, password, let's just go on over and fix them and see. I think that's everything. It's just okay. All tests succeeds. My password is now being checked. All right, we remove that, and my passwords are also being checked when I both when I create stuff. Right, we validate the password, And when we update the password, we validate that. And then at well, this is not the best approach, because the first time I encounter an error, we return. So if it's less than 8, but maybe it would make sense to also check these and then combine it all into an error message saying that you're missing a number and you're missing a lowercase character and you must have at least 8 characters, for example. But that I leave to you to figure out how to do, perhaps. Maybe it's a different kind of, you can create a validation exception that contains a list of error messages. That would be a straightforward solution. Okay, finally, I can delete a user. So test public void should delete user when deleting user. Yes. Okay, so first we need to set up. So we need a user to delete. To delete new user with a UID and a username and a valid password. And then we put that in, say user DAO, and we add it here. So, and I need to remove it, so I cannot use that. Let's say new array list, and here we go, list of my user to delete. All right, so that's the range. I set up my database. The act would be to say user service delete by, I need this ID to delete it. ID. What happened? Definitely not what I expected. Do I have a field variable? Yeah, wonderful. That's not what I want. Good job. Pym, blah, blah, blah. There we go. I want to delete this user. And then we assert and we say user DAO is empty. All right, that's what I want to check. And we do that by saying assert true. Well, sometimes it's better to say equals. I think that is supposed to produce a better output. Assert equals, maybe not. Simplify assertion. Okay, assert true, that's what it says. So now I have my test. That's what should work. Put the user into the database, try to delete that user, and then verify that it's removed. And we create the method. Yeah. And that means over here I need to implement that. Implement, yeah. And delete. So usually we would load, modify, verify first, verify, and then save. And then the question is there any logic associated with deleting a user? Because maybe we cannot delete a user if there are any tasks associated with it. So, but we don't really have that currently. So in which case we would need to load the user and associated tasks just to be sure. And we don't modify anything, and then we save something. So this I leave out for now. And save, well, we say user DAO delete with this ID. Yeah. And so there's no real logic to actually do anything here. We just remove if we just do this. Right, I want to remove if the ID equals the provided ID. So if I find a user which has the ID that we're looking for, we remove it. And if it wasn't successful, well, you're trying to remove something that doesn't exist, which is probably an error. So in this case, we throw an exception. And test. I might need to create a test and try to remove something that doesn't exist. So let's just do that. Make sure that that part also works. Test public void should throw exception when deleting on not existing user. So what do? I need something similar, and that's the ID and actual ID. So this is the one I want to delete. This is the user I have. Let's just put that in here. All right, and then we need that assert throws because we expect an error and say it's a data access exception class. With the implementation here, the lambda expression, and I'm trying to delete something like that. So actual ID, yeah. I'm trying to delete the user with this ID. I have a different user, but not the same ID, so I should get an exception thrown. Let's see if this works. All right, so I think that's sort of it for the user functionality. Create, update, and delete. Maybe we need a get, but all these get and read methods to show stuff in the UI, we will leave that to at least later. All right, so before you commit any kind of code, always just run your unit test to make sure you're not committing broken stuff. Everything still passes. Wonderful. And that means I can go here and commit. I've made a bunch of changes. Finish user service logic implementation. And I want to commit and push that to the Git repository. All kinds of warnings. See all these warnings here. What can I do? What's it complaining about? I don't even know. Statement lambda, expression lambda. Okay, so I can just remove the curly braces. Okay, super important warning. I'll ignore all that, just force push stuff. Yeah, commit anyway and push. So we're committing stuff. Which takes time. Yeah, we push that. And it's pushing, and let's just check. Yeah, I updated some README files, so I just need to pull that first. Wonderful, good stuff. Let's just check what the final result looks like on GitHub. So here we are. Updated just now. You can see my my URL to get to this one server. What's updated? We have the services, user service, implementation, all my stuff here, private things, deleting, that was the latest one. So that seems to be okay, it's all there. So that's it for this video. And I think next one I'll go over the task. Not doing the TDD strictly, but just writing those tests that are supposed to work in the end. That feels better to me. All right.